Well, hello there and welcome to the kitchen of the dollhouse for another reading from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and U. Stelfers for a January 22nd, the day of the Vortex. And here at the top of the page is a visual representational image of the day of the Vortex. So we have us an image of, well, what could it be? You know, this one is particularly apt when in most cases they're not. So what could it be? Boom, it's a fish amidst a curlicue. That's right, or a vortex, if you like. All right, and most days it's not so apparent. That having been said, visual representational image aside, it's not altogether all too important in the scheme of things. And what are the scheme of things? Well, my friends, it's January 22nd, and hence it's somebody's birthday. And so if it's your birthday, I just want to say, happy birthday. That's what's important around here. But if this video finds you late, well, I just want to say, I hope you had a happy birthday. Now, for everybody else joining us randomly, or more ideally to celebrate the day, I just want to say hello, welcome, and I hope you enjoy yourself. Now, before I dive in with the redirect, something I like to do around these here parts, and that is roll some dice. That's right, it's the DykASSt birthday broadcast, so I like to live up to the namesake, but I do so more importantly for synchronicity's sake. And here I rolled a 3 and a 1 for a 4, which is rather synchronous, if I do may say so myself. And we'll probably get to why that is a little bit later. But hey, what is synchronicity, you're probably wondering? Well, my friends, a lot of the time we get out in the world, we're very singular or narrow of focus. You know, we're not necessarily seeing the things going on around us for what they are. Yeah, we may see them, but you know, we don't lend them much concern. Now, why is this important? Well, as I've heard it told, the universe or the higher powers that be will often put things in our path to help us manifest our goals or realize our aspirations. But if we've got the blinders on, well, hey, you know what? We may not see those things for what they are. So this is a little bit of a exercise I extend to you to get out there into the world and take notice of these things the universe is showing you. That's right. By providing us a sign we can't help but notice. That's right. Your daily numbers. Now you have to go with the number I rolled for you. The intention is there, but it's probably ideal you raid that dusty Yahtzee set in your closet there and grab a set of dice so you can ascribe directional values to number sets as well as time limits with which to go in those directions. Once you've established all that, I don't know, go out to some place that you like, some place near and dear to your heart in town, or perhaps some place you've never been, and set off. That's right. Get yourself your time limit, your direction, and your numbers, and get those blinders off. Start soaking up everything around you like a sponge. You never know. The day might start to take on a little bit of a theme. Let's go with the visual representational image. Maybe you start seeing fish or curlicues or vortexes everywhere. I don't know. And maybe not necessarily the real thing either. Like to say somebody might be using that particular imagery on an advertisement, or maybe you see it on a billboard, or whatever the case may be. Maybe you keep going by fish stands. I don't know, but you got to be open to those kinds of things. So let's say you get off on your first directional value time limit there, and you know what? Maybe you don't see much of anything. You know what? In those cases, just kind of step back. Like I said, be open, start taking things in, and what's this? Look around, you see? Oh, maybe you just so happen to be on 4th Avenue. That's right. Hey, I would take that as a sign you're on the right path. So roll yourself another directional value time limit. Maybe when you get to the end of that one, hey, maybe you just so happen to be in front of, I don't know, the number 13 bus. Oh, could be. But, I don't know. So maybe reach into your pocket, see what you got. Maybe you just so happen to have perfect change to ride the bus. But no sooner do you pull out the change and that's right, the bus starts rolling. Oh, you just missed it. Well, you know what? Never fear, my friends. Maybe that was what was supposed to happen. That's right. So just roll yourself a time limit. Find out how long to go in the direction the bus was going. Maybe no sooner that that time limit elapsed, you find yourself in front of an alley. Oh, should I go down it? Shouldn't I? Roll yourself an even or an odd number for yes or no, Maybe it just so happens the dice says no, and no sooner do you get up to roll another directional value time limit, somebody standing nearby sees you doing as much, and maybe they come up to you and ask what's going on. What are you rolling dice for? Hey, you know what? In such circumstances, just let them know. Maybe show them this video. Tell them it's kind of crazy, I know, and they go, yeah, I agree with you. And you say, I know, right? But hey, I want to get out here, open my heart to the universe, see what could happen. And they go, yeah, I know, I get all that. That's not what I'm talking about. I go, what are you talking about? They go, it's my birthday too. Hey, you never know. Stranger things could happen. But you know what? Maybe they just so happen to ask if they can come along. And you know what? If you had gotten on that bus, you wouldn't have met this individual. And maybe that was the whole point of this exercise to begin with. Make yourself another friend. And you know what? If somebody else joins you on such a little happening here, even better, because as I've heard it told also, the more people who focus on the same thing is apt to generate better results. So get out there, stack up some synchronicities, some coincidences if you like, maybe make some new friends, and hey, just open yourself up to the universe being with you on your path. I think you get it. So let's dive in with the birthday read, shall we? Your month is January, your day the 22nd. Your sign is 1 to 3 degrees Aquarius of the Capricorn Aquarius period specifically. Last day of it, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it is. And your quality and elements is fixed air. All right, January 22nd, the day of the Vortex. Those born on January 22 manifest a kind of charged energy that repels some people and draws others in. Expressive individuals, they may find it difficult to control their impulsiveness in either their private or public lives. One type of January 22 person presents a carefully controlled image in public, but lets it all hang out in private. Another type has difficulty keeping his or her wilder nature under control in professional life. The most successful and longest-lived individuals born on this day are those able to guide their impulsive natures cautiously through rough emotional waters in both the private and public sectors. Emotional control is clearly an issue for January 22 people. They must come to realize that they can be more effective in reaching others when their passion is tempered and allows people more room to breathe. Friends, lovers, and family generally turn off when January 22 people, when January 22 explosiveness threatens, and viewing outbursts not as emotional richness to that end, but emotional disturbance. In their professional lives, January 22 people do well to follow the most seasoned advice available to them and pursue the most measured and prudent course possible. There is no reason to fear that their work will lack vitality, creative fire, or originality. It is attention to detail and the polishing of their skills that they must cultivate. They should not fear that advice will constrain them or somehow make them less their own person. The way they are built, this would be nigh impossible. And more highly evolved January 22 people develop patience and insight to match their depth of feeling. It can be initially painful, but the capacity to see themselves as they truly are, and consequently their work, too, is essential if they are to succeed in establishing meaningful relationships and lucrative business prospects. In addition, a never-ending improvement of social skills, to say cultivating interest in the work of others, listening to their opinions, sharing, discussing, and appreciating their strengths and weaknesses is invaluable. And when such empathetic qualities are combined with the hardiness of the January 22 nature, a truly formidable, well-rounded person emerges. And January 22 people do not handle depression well. So as soon as possible in their adult lives, they should get to know themselves at a deep level and realistically assess their abilities. Pursuing one line of work with their Undivided energies is usually best for them, building, growing steadily and surely. Yet during this positive building phase, one major emotional outburst can set them back enormously. So they must naturally guard against such a thing happening. And the solution is not repression, but finding a safety valve that lets off steam when their temperature begins to rise. All right, a rather narrow focus birthday breakdown to be sure, but it's kind of a through line theme with the Capricorn period. I know you're of the Aquarius zodiac sign, but you do happen to fall within the Capricorn Aquarius cusp, so I'm apt to imagine there's a little bit of bleed through from the Capricorn qualities still in the mix. That having been said, I thought this was a really unique day in and of itself, even if they still made a very lasered, concerted effort to focus on the emotional aspect of things. Like I said, a little bit of a through line here, but I like to provide a little bit of context in that regard. So let's dive into some notes I like to take on things going on. Maybe provide even further bit of connection with things we've gone over previously and some of the other birthday reads. So let's dive into it, shall we? For January 22nd, the day of the Vortex. All right. Manifesting a kind of charged energy that repels as many as it apparently draws in. You're a vortex, all right? And the reading claims you're expressive individuals who may find it difficult to control their impulsiveness, which can apparently present in a variety of ways, as the reading claims. To say controlled in public but unrealistic at home, or unrestrained rather at home, letting it all hang out, I think they said. And you might also be the type that displays a wilder nature in your professional life. But there's also a third. The longer living variety of people who guides their nature with caution in all areas of life. All told, emotional control is said to be a central issue in your life, which must be quite the struggle if it bears mentioning here in the book, because they don't often go into such things unless they ostensibly affect you. The likes of which is said to be able to suck the air from the room in its explosiveness, all right, and be seen as disturbing versus rich. It's therefore recommended to strive for the most prudent and measured course available. What else do we have here? Which I'm apt to agree with and imagine could be quite the personal struggle to that end. I don't consider myself an emotional person per se, but even so, I recognize that the power of emotion is undeniable. Negatives aside, at least you can take some solace in the fact that your fire and your originality won't be wanting. And to this regard, the reading advises that you cultivate and you polish the finer attention to detail within that respective role or capacity, if you like. And I especially like the mention of not fearing advice as something that may change who you are as an individual, as it hasn't been something, it wasn't really something that came to mind for me as I was reading the breakdown, but I could see it being a concern of yours if the breakdown applies. And saying that it'd be near impossible to break you down, or how did they say this? Something that hasn't come up, but I could see being a concern. And saying that it'd be near impossible to change you anyhow, I think that kind of adds a little bit of levity, kind of a wink and a nod to you in that respect. So yeah, you're not going to change anyhow, so don't let that kind of concern be something that distracts you, I think is what they're trying to say. And I would agree, all right? What else do we have here? There's many qualities mentioned, but patience and insight to match your depth of feeling is said to be a quality of the higher evolved individuals born on this day. Especially into their life's approach. So, so get after it. Try to be well-rounded and formidable, they said, if you're able to cultivate that particular behavior. So I would take it under advisement if I was born on this day, for sure. And that doesn't mean I can't take it under advisement even though I wasn't born on that day. I'd say it's a lot of decent advice there. But it all sounds like quite the tricky, labor-intensive pursuit, to be sure. All right. As the reading culminates, a few more pieces of the puzzle to maybe figure out how to work your way through the struggle and achieve success. So, like I said, it's a rather narrowly focused birthday breakdown, but expansive in how they examined how those particular aspects of your life may affect you and ways to adapt to as much. So, yeah, I think they imparted a lot of value there for such a very specific, unique, particular facet. The emotional whirlwind there, if you like. But in any event, hey, that's what I'd say about your breakdown. A little disjointed there at parts, but hey, we got through it, didn't we? So let's dive in with your numbers and your planets. Let's see what else we can drum up here on the birthday. Those born on the 22nd of the month are ruled by the number 4, as 2 plus 2 equals 4, and by the planet Uranus, or Uranus, depending upon how you like to say it, which is both erratic and explosive. Traits doubly underlined for January 22 people by Uranus's rulership of their sign Aquarius. Furthermore, being born on the Capricorn Aquarius cusp with its associated themes of mystery and imagination only increases the propensity for excitement. People ruled by the number 4 have their own way of doing and seeing things. They often rebel against regulations as well as rules, wanting to change the social order. And since 22 is a double number, those born on the 22nd day of the month may show an interest in twins, coincidences, symmetry, and doubles of various types. All right, there's your numbers and planets. A very highly personalized day here. Sometimes it's not the case. Sometimes it's a total copy-paste job, and they might just change out the date. That having been said, I mentioned there's a little bit of synchronicity working at the top. The number 4, and that happens to be your number. Now, I know I didn't roll a 2 and a 2 for a synchronicity kind of double type thing. That would have been just perfect, wouldn't it? That's how you know I didn't plan it that way, because I would have just done that, right? That having been said, let's dive in with what I'd say about the numbers and the planets here. All right, number 4 and Uranus for an explosive and erratic energy that is further bolstered by Uranus's rulership of Aquarius, all right? But as partnered with Saturn, the constrictive planet, somewhat conservative of nature, it's said to lend an air of mystery and imagination, at least to the theme of the Capricorn Aquarius cusp period here. Apparently, all right. Saturn typically causes conflict and frustration with the planets that it happens to be coupled to. But in the case of Uranus, a planet that's said to stir up the energies of the other planets, an air of changing the rules and rebellion are apparently the result here. But Saturn's seemingly conservative powers, they may be a bit hampered here, considering you got that dual Uranus thing coming in there for it being part of the cusp as well as your daily rulership. But I would say here, like if you had just the Uranus coupling, things would be just totally outlandish. You'd be getting too much erratic and explosiveness. Like to say if you're already an emotional individual, you might just be unhinged completely. I don't remember the last Uranus day. Maybe that's because I haven't come across it just yet. We might have to wait till we're into the proper Aquarius period here before we see some of that. So you might have to look for that there. That having been said, I'm getting totally off script here, so we'll see what else we have here. So while you might not get the full double dose of Uranus, I'd say that the Saturn being in the mix serves to add for some interesting dynamics, otherwise absent from the straight doubling, which we'll have to look forward to if you're interested here in the days coming. And that's assuming one lends credence to astrology there naturally. In any event, interesting dynamics to be sure. I'm getting excited to find out what that double Uranus looks like because I'm ruled by Uranus to some extent myself. It gets me a little excited for whatever reasons. I find it interesting. But that having been said, that's your numbers and your planets for your rebellious energy there, but it's a little bit pulled back by Saturn's constrictive nature. They didn't mention much conflict there because Saturn often imparts conflict or frustration, but I would say there was a little bit to be had in the breakdown. So if that's the case, maybe that's why. I don't know, because Saturn's in the mix. But that having been said, let's move on to your tarot. That's right, one of the more eclectic of the New Age metaphysical ideologies, but hey, it's here in the book, so let's dive in. We don't have to take it home and start dealing out the cards to inspire every whim or flight of fancy, so we'll just leave it in the book. It's our birthday. Let's see what it has to say. The 22nd card of the major arcana is the Fool, who in several versions is shown blithely stepping over the edge of a cliff. And some interpretations picture him as a foolish man who has given up his reason. Others, a highly spiritualized being free of material considerations. Positive meanings include renouncing resistance and following instincts freely. Foolish acts, impulsiveness, and annihilation are the negative aspects, and the highly evolved fool has followed life's path and experienced its lessons and become one with his or her own vision. All right. Yeah, I like this card for you, all right? I was getting into some of the notes there as a little proofreading, and I was like, I don't know, but now I'm back on the other side of it. But let's get into the notes here, see what I have to say. The Fool, a once-a-month card, all right, for ideas of giving up reason, which may speak to a highly emotional nature to some, and a highly spiritualized nature free from material concerns. And why I didn't get the idea you were free from material concerns, I think that's why I didn't think it necessarily applied in those regards. The idea of being ruled by emotion could certainly be considered being motivated or driven by more so the intangibles of life, if you like. Positives, interestingly rather, speak to following instincts freely, your emotions, I would argue, which it seems the reading advises against, but that I think argues, if you take a more conservative stance here, it's more about measuring and following the right and the ideal impulses. Now, the card does say this in so many words, so or at least one could argue. But even if they were relating foolish acts contributing to annihilation as negatives, it isn't the most direct way of conveying as much, though. So, in any event, all in all, I would say it's a rather apt card. All right, just got to take the idea that you're a fool out of it, I would say. But emotions, they run deep, okay, and they can affect us, in a lot of negative ways. So we just got to be able to rally against it. But again, I think it's a pretty interesting card to draw for this particular day. Now, that having been said, that's been your tarot. Let's move on to your health. All right, your health. Those born on January 22 find their greatest health problems in the areas of mental and emotional stability. Getting to know themselves at a deep level is of paramount importance and may be aided by a perceptive therapist. A wide variety of physically sensuous activities are recommended for January 22 people. Also, self-imposed physical disciplines such as yoga that deals with breath and body control can be beneficial. An interest in cooking and food is especially recommended, as those born on this day can make vibrant, imaginative chefs. Sexual satisfaction and or affection from a loved one is essential to their self-esteem, which is particularly vulnerable. Interesting. This is a little bit of a deviation for a health entry today. They didn't really necessarily follow their typical rote, boilerplate kind of approach. A little bit, but I'll get into why here. They said mental and emotional stability is your chief health issue. So they're leaning a little bit into the psychological there. And, if something like emotions is going to come up, makes sense they would do so. Though the psychological isn't something they typically dive into. Not to say they don't, but they typically don't. And usually when it does present, they kind of avoid drilling down on the diet that's the best for you. And here I would say that seems to be a little bit of the through line. It seems like that follows. But that being said here, we probably could have guessed that emotions were going to come up here if that was to present it with as much. But considering a minor influence from Capricorn, who's, they didn't really mention the stress of work, I don't believe. No, they didn't. Not that I could see just glancing there. But Capricorns, they just dive in with the work. And that is their chief health concern because they ignore their health altogether in pursuit of their career or the cause that they dedicate themselves to. So if you find that maybe you're finding a little bit of stress in your life, I would say that's the Capricorn kind of carrying over, at least stress in regards to you're too dedicated to the job or the cause, if you like. Now, they, like I said, they didn't bring that up, but if that's coming up for you, I would say that's why. What else do we have? But considering considering Capricorn's minor influence, work-based stress, and it might still be a potential concern. So I said all that. Sensuous activities and self-imposed disciplines like meditation and yoga are mentioned as beneficial. And so I would say that's kind of their exercise, what they're mentioning about exercise. Some days they tell them you got to be vigorous with your exercise 2 to 3 times a day, or a week rather, or every day. Here they didn't really bring that up too much outside of this here. And it also seems like an Aquarius through line, this yoga and meditative type thing. Though we haven't really gotten into Aquarius too much, I just have to kind of go by what's come up in the cusp period here. So it's still a little too early to tell if that's the case. But also culinary efforts for diet is a huge Capricorn through line. They tell at least half of them that to expand their culinary efforts, maybe even more than that. But they also mention a diet that is very that tries to cut out cholesterol-laden foods, to say the dairy fats and the animal fats, because the circulatory system or the veins is a Capricorn body area, and as it turns out, Aquarius as well. So a little bit suspicious that they didn't put that in there as a concern of yours. So be mindful of the cholesterol. And what else do I have? The skeleton is also a body area for Capricorns, so maybe take your calcium and your chondroitin and conglutamine for your, or however the one said. Take that for your joints there. That comes up oftentimes as well. But they also mentioned a satisfying sexual and sensual lifestyle as well to help with the positives in your self-esteem. And that's been coming up here in this latter period as well. So maybe take note of that and enjoy as much if you can there. What else do we have? So a rather sparse entry. I've pretty much drawn it out as long as I can here, but hopefully you found something of value there. So take care of yourself in a psychological sense. Don't be down on or look at therapy as a down thing. It's just the ability to talk through things. I often say if you can't afford it, find a friend that's apt to or willing to listen to you talk about the same things over and over again. Because sometimes we hear it for the 37th, 40th time, we finally figure something out. And then, maybe there's a little bit of added pressure, too, with that friend. You're like, man, I must be putting them out, having to make them hear this thing again. And maybe that little bit of added pressure, a little bit of embarrassment in the back, that might go, oh, you know what, I need to figure this out for myself here. It's like talking about things. So I think you get the point. I'm probably talking at a wall here, so you get it so much. But in any event, that's been your health. So let's move on to some advice, as if we haven't gone over enough of that already. All right, your advice. Submit to that which benefits you. All right, and don't put yourself down, yet be aware of your limitations and try to see your work objectively and take in some of what people say about you and remain calm in the face of adversity. All right. Very apt advice, I would say, if the breakdown applies. That having been said, I like to put my little spin on things. Let's get into it here. They said submit to what benefits you. All right, seeming common sense here, I would say, but perhaps more essential to you than others if emotions can be so volatile. All right. They also said don't put yourself down. I would say doing as much, it works as a great helpful motivator for some, but it may not be healthy or beneficial to you. So yeah, don't put yourself down too much. I was in the Marine Corps for 6 years, and you get put down all the time. It's kind of a kick in the pants, if you like. But that started to carry forward with me as I got out of that particular career, and was used to doing it to myself. Oh, you're garbage, you're this or that. Because it's just like, I'm not going to be garbage. You get after it. And then I got into some other lines of work and passion, and they're saying that's not helping you. You need to lean more into the positives of things. And so I largely got away from it. But sometimes I got to drill back down on it if the positives aren't doing it for me. So I think you get the idea. Salt to taste, try it out. I don't know, but maybe lean away from it if emotions run high. So what else do we have here? Try to see things objectively. All right, huge for anybody, but especially if emotions are always grabbing for the wheel. All right, it's tough and it's almost impossible at times, especially with emotions. All right, but even trying to be objective about as much, I would say, is going to help and is a step in the right direction. All right, what else do we have here? Take in what folks say is what they said, all right? Emotions, again, probably aren't trying, and those folks probably aren't trying to knock you necessarily. They might be trying to help you out, but the emotions might be telling you, no, they're trying to put you down or whatever. You know what? Try to be objective. That's right. Take a step back, listen to what they have to say. And even if they are trying to knock you, don't be blind to what you might be blind to. That's right. It's you can always just step back and go, is that really the case? And ask yourself in a very objective way if it is. And it might not be at all, but hey, assume maybe for a little bit that it is. And what can you learn from it perhaps? How can you improve upon it even if it doesn't apply? I'd say that's being highly objective there. And you know what? You probably know it doesn't apply, but hey, there might still be something to learn, assuming it does. I don't know, just an idea. And you only stand to benefit. That's right. If you're always in with the emotions, hey, you only stand to benefit and learn something else if you try being objective. All right, I think you get the point. They say remain calm. All right, overreaction or knee-jerk reflexes, impulses, if you like, they may send you from one fire right into another. That's right. Hey, you might be pulling your hand off that hot stove only to drop it into some boiling oil. I don't know. I did a little metaphor there for you. For the culinary expansion, if you like. In any event, that's been your advice. So let's take the energy down just a hair and move on to your meditation. That's right. It's your birthday. You get a meditation. All right. Enthusiasm is life-giving, but deadly when misguided. Oh, all right. Here, I like this one for you. Once again, enthusiasm is life-giving, but deadly when misguided. All right. That's your meditation, your birthday. I'm not going to throw some spin on it and try to, I don't know, give you what I think about it. It's just for you. It defeats the purpose of being a meditation if you were to just get the meaning from someone else's interpretation. That having been said, your meditation in the can, let's move on to your strengths and your weaknesses. That's right. Let's hold up the objective mirror and see where we got the bulk and where we're otherwise atrophied there. That's right. So your strengths, you're natural, oh, interesting, emotional, and you're exciting. Interesting. Emotional is a strength here. I would have thought it'd been a weakness. Just being honest there. But your weaknesses, that's right. Let's hold up that objective mirror, but flip it to the side that blows up your face. That's right. And maybe shows off some of the things you might be otherwise superficially, I don't know, insecure about in one way of speaking. That's right. Your weaknesses. What are they? Oh, here we go. You're hasty, you're explosive, and you're careless. Interesting. The other side of the emotional there. Hey, I like that they put emotion as a strength here. Wasn't expecting it. I don't often look at the strengths and weaknesses going in because I kind of want to be surprised, if you like. A lot of times I like to argue that we shouldn't, or that our strengths are going to help us overcome our weaknesses, if they even need to be overcome. So a lot of times they just need to be, I don't know, improved upon or restrained a little bit. But that having been said, I like to argue that the strengths you have here are going to help you bring those back. You're natural, emotional, exciting. I don't have a hard time making my case here with this one. Natural, I don't know how that would necessarily help you get over your weaknesses of being hasty, explosive, and careless. Maybe that you're just going to approach it in a very organic way, and you're going to try to get after it with your strengths specifically. Emotional, Again, not quite sure how that's a strength to get over your weaknesses of hasty, explosive, and careless. But exciting, hey, you know what? Maybe you turn it into a game to try and take them down. So yeah, in this particular case, not the best instance of me coming up with arguments for as much. But that being said, your weaknesses, I like to say don't get rid of them altogether because they make us who we are. And your case for a weakness being a strength, you know, a lot of times I'll see impulsive, specifically trade from weakness to a strength depending upon the day. And also, it's dependent upon the person too, I would say. To be hasty, hey, you know what? That could be a strength in a lot of cases. Maybe you need to get that hand off the stove because, you know, you don't want to burn yourself. Being too hasty about things. I don't know. Maybe sometimes if you are hasty about something, you'll luck into a situation that you wouldn't have lucked into otherwise. If you hadn't been hasty, if you had been indecisive about things, some people are indecisive to a fault. So, you know, you might stand to gain where they would otherwise lose. Be like an instance of you getting on the bus in that synchronicity example, and it may be taking you someplace very interesting. You know, what's this? What's the glass door there, or the sliding door, whatever that movie is, where you see both sides of their life dependent upon the choice they made. I don't know. Explosive. I could see that being a strength if you were, I don't know, in a fight. Say, you know, you gotta be reacting real quick, right? And be able to duck and dodge those incoming blows. Who's to say? But careless. I don't know about that being a strength. Who's to say? Maybe you have to be in certain situations in order to get people who are, oh, maybe toxic people, to get them out of your life. You got to be careless with them. Otherwise, they'll stick around. I don't know. That could be a strength in that case. Oh, I'm glad I at least came up with one of them in any event. Like I said, I didn't come up with the best cases here for my argument, but some days it works perfect. So in any event, yeah, once again, hey, I'd argue if you need to bring down your weaknesses, your strengths are going to help you do so. Maybe not the strengths listed here, but some of the other ones. I would say that you're a creative individual based on the breakdown. Though they didn't list it here, creativity is going to help you come up with solutions to bring down your weaknesses. But don't get rid of your weaknesses altogether because I like to say they make us who we are. So that having been said, not my strongest, one of my weaker strengths and weaknesses examples. Let's move on to those born on this day. And when we get into those born on this day, something I like to do is examine it from the perspective of chasing after our passions. Not only getting to see who shares your company, but seeing what they did to get in the book. And I bring up passions because all too often I get out in the world and meet individuals and I ask them what they do and more importantly if they like it, and they don't. And, you know, I think it's important that we're out in the world finding or doing something that we get fulfillment from because it makes life just more worth living, right? And you're only here for so long, so why not enjoy yourself and enjoy what you're doing? And if you get into a career where you're just kind of going up the corporate ladder, but at the very root of it, the fatal flaw is that it has nothing to do with anything you're interested in, well, hey, then you're just entertaining this vicious cycle of, I don't know what, you know, just going after it for money. I don't know. That's nice in some cases, but others, you know, not so much. Especially if we could be doing that with something we found fulfilling. So I think it's a great opportunity to not only see who shares your company, but to see what they did to get in the book. And if you don't necessarily have a passion, well, hey, maybe this will just serve as some inspiration to rekindle the fire, or you know, maybe spark the embers there to start figuring that out. Because if there's anything I can wish for you on your birthday, it's that you're on the path to realizing your passions. That's right. So let's get into it, shall we? We start off with Lord Byron. His name was George Gordon, a British romantic poet of Manfred fame. He was exiled from England and died at the age of 36. Rather young there. We have Grigory Efimovich Rasputin, or better known as Rasputin. I should have just read the last one. The Russian mad monk, it says, influential in the court of Tsar Nicholas II, and he had legendary powers, it says, and was assassinated. We also have Sir Francis Bacon. How about that? The British essayist, the inductive philosopher, and founder of modern scientific method. Responsible for a work by the name of Novum Organum. All right. Who would have thought he was an emotional individual being a scientist? I don't know. Would have thought it would have been objective if you asked me. Any event, August Strindberg is the next one here, Swedish playwright. We also have D.W. Griffith, an epic silent film director responsible for Birth of a Nation and effectively established the language of film. Wasn't that one of those movies that was like really racist? Oh, who's to say? I can't recall. But if it was, very interesting now. Sergei Eisenstein, pioneering Russian epic film director, responsible for Potemkin. Gosh, some of the words today here. We also have Jerome Kern, musical comedy, operetta composer, and songwriter. We also have George Balanchine, a Russian-American choreographer. We also have André-Marie Ampère, a French physicist and electrical unit namesake. The amp, if you weren't picking up on that. Let's see here. We have Beatrice Webb, a British economist, and a sociologist. We also have Sam Cooke, the singer-songwriter, producer, and died in a shooting at the age of 33. Boy, we have some tragic lives here on some of these. We also have John Hurt, the British stage and film actor. J.J. Johnson, the jazz trombonist. Mike Bossy, the hockey right wing, and he led the Islanders to 4 Stanley Cups, it says. We also have U Thant, the letter U, and Thant, a Burmese UN Secretary General. We also have Joseph Wambaugh, a writer and an LA policeman responsible for The New Centurions. We also have Piper Laurie, a film actress, Anne Southern, a film actress, and Gotthold Lessing, a German dramatist and a critic. And we also have Douglas Wrongway Corrigan, a pilot who mistakenly flew to Ireland instead of California. Interesting. I don't know, we're near close to each other. That having been said, those have been those born. That has been those born on this day. I know it's a big-ass tall order to try and take inspiration from other people's passions or the things that they accomplished, but hey, maybe me putting the bug in your ear about it help you stir up the fires. Because if there's anything I can wish for you on your birthday, it's that you're jumping out of bed in the morning and eager to get on with your day, to just and doing something you find fulfilling. That's right. So that being said, this has been those born on this day, which essentially rounds out your birthday reading. Except to say your season is winter, your sign once again is Aquarius, first day of it, of the Capricorn Aquarius cusp, and, or no, not the first day of it. Oh, that's right. It's not the first. I think it's the second day of it. But it's the last day of the Capricorn Aquarius cusp there. And your quality and element is fixed air. And this has been January 22nd, the day of the Vortex. And I've been caught in one myself today, let me tell you here. And this has been The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and you Stelfers. I have an affiliate link for this book down in the description if you're interested in diving in further, picking up your own copy, not having to deal with some guy who can't keep these words straight trying to read it to you. But you know what? It makes an excellent coffee table book. A great way to get a party started if you're going to have company over. Break this thing out, start reading people their birthdays. Oh, it's going to do some of the heavy lifting for you for sure. But that having been said, book having been related, that's not what's important here. What's important, like I said at the top, wishing you a happy birthday. So once again, happy birthday, all right? And for everybody else that joined us here today, you know, I just want to say I hope you enjoyed yourself despite my disjointed read and notes, and you join us for your birthday read. See what else I mess up on your birthday there. Oh, one thing I forgot, however, is I butchered a lot of names there today, didn't I? So let's do some butchering on my side. It's not done in malice, it's just hooked on phonics. Doesn't often work for me with the names. But that having been said, that's once again, that's been your birthday. I just want to thank you for the privilege of your time here. And it's been a pleasure celebrating with you. So once again, happy birthday. Take care of yourself and be objective. That's right. Try to temper down the emotions just a little bit, and you might see benefits just untold. All right. So once again, happy birthday and take care of yourselves.